Um, Now, the fourth and strategy is a much more radical one, and we normally don't recommend this unless the other three strategies have failed. It's really for organizations where knowledge management has become so endemic and so deeply rooted that it's practically impossible to dislodge using one of the simpler strategies. And the strategy is quite radical to deal with this. It's basically to do an organizational restructuring. Now, this is radical. In 95% of cases, you don't need to do this. A combination of the other three strategies will work fine. And it is expensive, of course, to do an organizational restructuring, but generally speaking, in those that small number of organizations that require this approach, they are having other problems apart from knowledge management, and an organizational restructuring does distract attention from lots of problems. And so it can be used quite effectively. Now, the one thing you need to remember in an organizational restructuring to uninstall knowledge management is you must break up the knowledge management team. So you want to send some people to one function, for example, corporate planning, and some people to another function, for example, IT. And if you can possibly split them up into a third function, for example, HR or organizational development, then that's by far the best thing to do. So those are the four strategies. I do want to say a little word more about the personnel dimension of uninstalling knowledge management, because in many organizations they've had the misfortune to appoint knowledge managers and have a knowledge management team in place. So it is important to think about what to do with these, because if they're halfway competent at what they're doing, they will continue to try to promote knowledge management despite your uninstall efforts. So basically there are three levels of knowledge management employee. The first level is really the sort of the junior staff, not very experienced, but very enthusiastic, very keen on the principles and the ethics of KM and so on. Now, these people, generally speaking, won't do any harm so long as you take away their brains. So take away their more experienced supervisors, and what you'll find is that these people run around doing lots and lots of small work, but not really having very much impact because they don't know how to direct it properly. So I would say don't worry too much about those people, but take away their more experienced supervisors. Now, the next level up, sort of the mid-level knowledge managers, they're quite competent, quite experienced. And the best way to deal with these is to give them more work to do. So tell them that they're doing terrifically good job, and they're really good at change management and so on. So give them more change management type roles to do. For example, if you have a balanced scorecard initiative, if you're trying to promote innovation, organizational excellence, any of those things are perfectly good. Just put more and more responsibilities on them. And what you'll find is that their ability to attend to knowledge management and to direct their juniors in knowledge management efforts are substantially degraded, and quite often they'll become burnt out and move on. Now, the third and the trickiest level of staff to deal with, fortunately it doesn't happen in too many organizations, is where you have quite a senior member of staff in the organization, senior manager of some kind, who's quite influential, very charismatic, able to influence colleagues and peers and subordinates across the organization in favor of knowledge management. And really what you want to do is to dislodge their influence on the organization. Now, we found that by far the best way to do this is to encourage them to go out on the international KM conference circuit. So give them permission to use your organization as a case study and really promote them out there, out in the sea. Now, most of the time they'll be away, so they won't be bothering too much about what's happening inside the organization. And you give them 3 to 6 months of this. And after 3 to 6 months, they'll begin to notice that their mid-level staff are being distracted by balanced scorecard and organizational excellence and all of this sort of thing. The KM efforts are beginning to flag a little bit, and that's the point at which you deny them their performance bonus or their increment or whatever it is. What generally happens is they become so pissed off with you, but so confident in their own abilities because they're terribly popular on the conference circuit, that with any luck they'll resign and go out on their own as a consultant. And that, in short, is the real the most effective way we can find of addressing the personnel issue of knowledge management.